Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever and whenever you are joining us. Welcome to our newest edition of What Caught My Eye, or WCME Sports. I am your host, as always, the coach Nick Vesci. I am joined by the boy Stephen Vesci and the man Stephen Comlow.
Hello.
Thank you, gentlemen. Before we get into things, remember to follow us on all of our social media, on Instagram, on X, at WCME_sports. Also on Facebook. Go to our website, WCMEsports.com. And make sure you check YouTube and Spotify as our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon. All right, if you're new to the show, our biggest thing is we want to highlight the biggest, most eye-catching things that happen in the sports world and talk about them and try to put some perspective around what you saw or what you may have missed and not seen. And hopefully by the end of the day, you've learned something new. That's always the biggest goal. We always start off with our top catch of the week. Right? And for this week, we turned our attention to the world of soccer, or international football, or calcio if you're speaking the old language.
Soccer.
And we have two big major tournaments happening, international tournaments happening as we speak. You have the European Championships. You also have the Copa America. Copa America is North, Central, and South America. The European Championships is the best of Europe and other countries that kind of, count as Europe now.
Copa America.
We're going to start off with the
North,
Euros,
Central, and South America. Or it's. I mean, we
Did you not
can
hear
leave
me?
out. Yeah, we can leave out. U.S. and Canada pretty much.
Canada's
That one.
playing right now.
Are they playing right now?
Yeah.
Are they
They're
that
playing
good?
Argentina.
Yes.
The Canada's good. They've been good
Yeah,
for a while now.
Yes, jabroni. Or as you would find out if you were going to listen, and as we would get to it, you jabroni. Canada is in the semifinals of the Copa America
Jabroni,
and have
good word.
been one of the most deserving sides to be in the semis of that entire tournament.
Canada's
But
that
we
good
were
at
going to
soccer?
start off. They
It's
have one. They have one of the best players in the world, Alphonso Davies, right? Kamala plays
Correct.
Is it for Bayern, or is he on a different club now?
He might have moved. I haven't kept up with my
maybe
Bundesliga.
Yeah, but no, Alphonso Davies, striker, forward, he's fantastic. But Canada has always been pretty decent. They just, a lot of times, for World Cup qualifying, there's only so many spots that go to CONCACAF countries, and they always have some sort of hiccup. However, we wanted to start off with the Euros because, as we've talked about before, the Euros have arguably the best collection of talent overall because of the depth of the European nations, that you don't get to see all of those nations in a World Cup because there's a cutoff, but there are several countries in Europe who are really good and could make deep runs at the World Cup, and that's why the Euros are oftentimes so compelling to watch. So just a quick recap. At this stage, we're in the semifinals of the Euros. You have Spain and France playing against each other. They played today. We'll get to them in a second. And then tomorrow, which would be on Wednesday if you are keeping track, England and the Netherlands play in the other semifinal. So I will start off with the Spain versus France matchup. So Spain, to get to the semis, they beat host Germany 2-1 on Mikel Moreno's late goal in extra time. Spain has not lost a match in this whole tournament. They haven't. I believe they've won every match, so they haven't even drawn anyone. They've been fantastic. France, they beat Portugal 5-3 in penalties to advance to the semifinals. However, coming into their semifinal matchup with Spain, France had not scored a goal in open play the entire tournament, meaning there are 3 goals that they've scored the whole tournament, which is not a lot for a team with the firepower of France, have been 2 own goals and 1 from the penalty spot. So they literally have not scored any goal from the run of play or even on like a set piece at all. So, very kind of interesting going on there. Just to kind of quick recap, the Spain-France matchup happened earlier today on Tuesday. Spain wound up beating them 2-1. As we said, Spain probably has been the most deserving side. They've been the best side in the Euros, and they've been playing a different type of technique and tactics than you were used to seeing. But when we were growing up, the Spain was, very ticky-tacky, passing back and forth. Like I watched hours and hours of soccer, and I almost saw in goal type of thing. And there's so much in possession, so much, in the midfield, and we'll wait for our opportunity and we'll strike, and you won't have an opportunity to strike because we'll have possession the whole time. But this Spanish side has been more, direct in their attacking and kind of more, electric and explosive in the way they've attacked. And so that showed today in their 2-1 win over France. So they fell behind 1-0. Mbappe set up a header for one of his fellow countrymen to take the lead 1-0. And then not that long after, I think in the 21st minute, so that the first goal, I think, was in the 6th minute. In the 21st minute, though, Yamine Lamal, believe I'm saying his name correctly, he leveled the score. Boy, do you know how old Lamal is? You want to take a guess?
Is he under 21?
He is very far under 21.
18.
He is 16 years old. He's 16 years old. And he's out there with the Mbappes of the world, scoring for Spain. Starting. This whole tournament he's been starting. He scored the goal to tie it up.
Born in 2007.
Isn't that nuts? He's 16.
Feel old?
He's the youngest to ever score at a Euros or at a World Cup. He's the youngest to ever do that. It's nuts. Right, Yamine Lamal, I believe, Kamlo, so we can make sure we get his name out there. 16. Nuts, right? And only a couple minutes later, Spain took the lead to go up 2-1, and they held on from there to advance to the finals. So
does he get paid? Like, does he? Yeah. I don't know how it works. Does he get actually paid?
Yeah, the players will get money for their international caps.
But he's not amateur status like you're talking about. I think you're kind of like a golfer.
Yeah.
No, I think he's getting paid. I believe so.
Give me a second.
I would think so, because I don't think there's any. Like I said, there's not like
he plays for Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah,
Barcelona. He's a forward.
So, yeah. So kind of nuts though. Thought he was. I mean, that may be the most eye-catching thing you hear all week. A 16-year-old born in 2007 is helping to lead Spain to the Euros finals. In the other semifinal, like we said, we have England and the Netherlands. England beat Switzerland in penalties 5-3 to get to this point, and the Netherlands beat Turkey 2-1 in a comeback. They went down 1-0, just kind of like Spain did, and came back to win 2-1 over there. So that's going to be a very cool and interesting semifinal. On the other side, I don't know about you, Kamlo. I think it may be decided by the play by the strikers as the people who have the ball in their foot in the dangerous areas, because both sides should be quality on the back end.
I think they should. But I do think the Netherlands are probably the game will be over, but it won't reach a penalty shootout. I think the Netherlands close this out because them, along with Spain, are really the only team that's scoring regularly, right? Cody Gakpo has 3 goals to his name, is tied for leading scorer for that Golden Boot award for the whole tournament. I believe the other forward is from Spain as well. Olmo, I think is how you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
Olmo.
He scored the deciding goal today.
Yeah, so they're both tied at 3 apiece for the tournament overall. But when you look at, you talk about like France, who haven't really scored to put it into basketball terms, they haven't really scored from the field, right? Yeah. It's been penalties and penalty shootouts that have been deciding their game. Spain and the Netherlands are really the only ones that are scoring regularly enough to really be viewed as a scoring threat, right? Everyone else, it's very, very low scoring games. Spain is putting up, I think, probably at least 2, maybe 3 goals a game. I'd be curious to see what their average is. But the Netherlands are also putting up at least a minimum of 2 goals a game as well. Whereas England, I think they've just kind of been struggling to hit their stride. The Dutch have Vigil in the back, who is just a stone wall. That guy is just a monster. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be one of those like unstoppable force meets an immovable object type games.
I think there's going to be a lot of drama, as they like to say.
Well, did you see
that matchup?
We've talked a lot about like the officiating so far throughout this tournament, as well as Copas, but there was once again. I mean, this came forward today that there's a controversial referee appointment for the Netherlands-England game. The referee that's going to be the head ref for Netherlands-England tomorrow is a referee who is just finished serving a 6-month ban for fixing games.
Yes, I saw
for
that.
fixing games and betting on games. And like we've talked about like the pool that they have, but like at this point, group stage is over. There's literally one game to play tomorrow, and this is who we appoint. FIFA and Euro Cup and whoever organizes this needs to do better. There is no reason for this. I'm just going to say I'm just going to take a brutally honest take. There's no reason for this scumbag to be refereeing a game of this caliber when literally every other ref in Europe is in Germany, and we picked this guy who just got off serving a 6-month ban. Like, get out of here. It's the most tragic thing ever. I've said my piece, and I'll close with I hope he bet on the Netherlands. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm going to say.
So, Kamala, I think that this is the reason, or one of the reasons, why soccer has had such a poor reputation in terms of match fixing and gambling is because of shit like this.
Yes.
Like, could you imagine the NBA Finals, Game 7, and they pull some dude who just got off being suspended for betting on or fixing games? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, it would never happen. It would never, ever happen without knowledge.
There's no way that ref would ever be allowed in a uniform
Maybe we didn't
again.
know. Yes. I mean, what was the guy, Donaghy or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Tim Donaghy, right? You're right. They would never allow that person to work again. He'd be indicted on all sorts of federal charges. So you're right. It is kind of insane. We hope, and the boy, you said this all the time, the best officials are the ones you don't notice. We hope we don't notice this guy at all. We hope there are no storylines in terms of this official being out there, because it takes away from the overall reason why we watch the sport, which is for the players and the drama that is on the field, the soap opera that is competition amongst human beings. So you're right. Kamala, I'm with you. I'm taking the Netherlands. I think England has been far too underwhelming on offense. I think the Netherlands' back end is far too strong that if you're not firing on all cylinders, Virgil is going to eat you up, especially because he plays in the Premier League and knows all the guys' tricks. Like, it's like trying to beat a goalie who you face all the time. It's same with the defender. He knows everything those guys are going to do. So I don't think England is going to mount much of an offensive attack. I think the Netherlands break through on a counter. And you're right. I'm going to go with you're right. It doesn't go to penalties. They wrap this thing up, and we see a Spain-Netherlands final, which would be, I believe, a rematch of the 2010 World Cup final, Kamala, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it would be, and that would be so poetic because the Netherlands had their heart broken by Andre Iniesta. And when you were talking about Spain and in their match against France and the quality of soccer that they're playing, I was so close to saying it's almost like they're returning to form back when they had David Villa, Andre Iniesta, and like those
Piqué.
guys. Gerard Piqué.
What was the other? David Luiz? Is that
David
with the guy
Luiz?
with the hair?
No, that's Carlos Puyol.
That's it, Puyol. Yeah. He was my type of player.
It's almost like we're seeing like it's kind of a seamless transition from like the generation of Spanish football that we grew up seeing on the big stages to where they are now. I mean, they look so good.
Yes.
So I'm really hoping that we get that rematch. I'm sure like the Orange Wall, as the Dutch fans like to call themselves, the Orange Wall would turn up so big for that game. Their fan base is just so much fun to watch. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the Netherlands fans over there in Germany, but I saw one clip of when the news broke that Netherlands beat Turkey. Someone posted a clip of like an orchestra like concert, I guess, in the Netherlands, and the concert stops, and the maestro turns around and tells everyone, "Hey, in case you guys didn't know, in case you guys didn't know, we just beat Turkey," and the whole orchestra breaks out into a rendition of Hup Holland Hup. And everyone in the crowd is standing up going crazy. And this is like an orchestra, so everyone's like dressed in black tie. It's crazy. Those fans are nuts.
I know for a fact Leonard Bernstein was called maestro in Social Situations.
He was just probably called Lenny by his friends.
Oh, Maestro. Bob.
I mean, there are no houses to rent in all of Tuscany. It's booked, Jerry.
Yeah,
Get a cot, a sublet.
Euros has been very, very fun to watch, though. I really enjoy this tournament when it comes around every couple of years. This has been a lot of fun to watch.
Well, one more thing before we move to the Copas on Spain. You talked about how we're kind of, it's refreshing to see this kind of, I won't say dominance, but like pure, enjoyable football from Spain that we used to see. They kind of went through a rebuild, right? Those guys aged out, and then they had to kind of rebuild it, and it didn't take very long. A lot of other countries, I would even say the Netherlands, it took longer for them to rebuild after that generation of...
Happened with Italy, and it happened with France, too. There was...
Yes.
Was it Italy whose team
Germany
walked off the practice pitch during a World Cup because there was just so much dissent among their ranks? Yeah, but you never hear any of that coming out of the Spanish camp.
Did Spain reload or rebuild?
They've probably just tapped into their youthful academies.
Yeah, that's what they. So maybe reload is probably the better thing because you're not a franchise. You can't really trade people on an international level, right? You either got the citizenship that you are eligible for, or you don't. Right? We can't just say, "Hey, we all want to go play for the Guatemalan national team." It doesn't work that way.
Sorry,
like you
Mike.
could if you. Yeah, sorry, Mike. Maybe you can now, Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
But so. You have who the people you can choose from. So you're right. Maybe it's more of a reload that they, like Kamala said, they tapped in their academies. They kind of built it back up to what they needed it to be with the talent that they had.
The crazy thing,
Spain looks excellent.
One more thing about that team, real quick, because I've just thoroughly enjoyed watching them because it really has just been dominance in their matches. Like you said, Nick, they're unbeaten, they're unbroken. They've won every game that they've played in. And the crazy thing is that if you go through their matches, they're in a different formation almost every game. They're building their formation around what they view their opponents to be strong at and weak at, and they're almost like using it against them. It's very, very fascinating to watch how they line up. Like, yes, you'll see the players in like the same area of the field, but the formations are very, very different, which alters the flow of the game. But I mean, if they're able to play that sort of like if you guys watch Ted Lasso, you guys might be familiar with the term total football.
Total football.
Yes, it's a Dutch term, a Dutch style of football where like everyone can do everything, right? But like when you talk like total football in the sense that like the Spanish have been doing, when you alter these formations, it changes the flow of how you guys progress and regress around the field and move the ball around the field. But they've just been doing so good. They're dominating possession numbers. They're getting an insurmountable amount of shots on net. I mean, it's insane to watch. Really, really fun, though.
Kind of like the old Patriots where, you figure out what, like, you take away what they do best and you're not necessarily playing your old, like, you're like, oh, this is our way, this is our style. Like, you adjust to us, we adjust everything we do to you, and we figure out where your weak spots are, and we hit you.
Yeah, and
don't look at me like that, Nick, when I said that.
I thought that was a shameless plug to get Tom and Bill.
It's nothing to do with Tom. It's nothing to do with Tom.
Into the show.
That's a Belichick thing, but no, it's how
I
would relate to soccer.
The nice thing about that is that it shows that you're having a lot of preparation for your opponent, because if you're able to come up with a formation to counter what your opponent is going to do best while simultaneously attacking their weak points, it makes it almost impossible for your opponents to prepare for you, right? Because like if they're expecting Spain to come out in like a traditional like 4-3-3, but they come out and they're in some like wacky like diamond formation in the midfield with a duo striker up front, like it changes everything with how you're going to format your defensive lines and how you're going to progress and flow through the game. So it immediately starts them off on the front foot. It's very, very fun to watch. Like the chess game in it is fascinating.
Yes. And we go from fun to watch and beautiful total football to the Copa Americas, which in a lot of ways has been a dogfight, to put it nicely. Yeah, there's been some rough games. Not that I'm complaining. Part of me likes the rough games because it reminds me of a tight checking hockey playoff game But for the Copas, we're also into the semifinals. You have Argentina taking on Canada as we speak, as we're on the air right now. They're playing. That's a rematch from the group stages. I believe Argentina won the first matchup 2-0. But after that, I don't think Canada's dropped a point. I think they've won every match since they lost to Argentina in this tournament. Because like I was saying before, Canada is one of the most deserving sides to be in the Final Four of this. I believe Canada is, I think, one of the they're only the fourth CONCACAF country. So they came out of the group stage second to Argentina. I believe Canada, they play in CONCACAF. CONCACAF is the governing body for North and Central America and the Caribbean. And they're only the fourth CONCACAF country to reach the semis of a Copa America. Mexico and the U.S. did it, and I believe, is it Honduras? I believe is the other country that made it to the semis. So Canada's the fourth CONCACAF country to ever make it there. They beat Venezuela in penalties to reach the stage. Argentina beat Ecuador in penalties to reach the stage. It's kind of an interesting contrast there is that Canada is joyous to beat a Venezuela in penalties, whereas Argentina is kind of, let's take a breath here. What's going on? We had to go to penalties to beat Ecuador. So you're in two different boats. So it's almost like one team's riding high, one team's like, we may have gotten lucky, but Argentina, in a lot of ways, is the best side in the whole Copas based off of their pedigree and skill and talent and depth and all sorts of things. But it'd be interesting to see. I know, again, we're not able to watch it as we're on there. Interesting to see if Canada can give them a game. They'd lost, I think, 2-0 in that opener. In the other semifinal, you have Uruguay and Colombia. Colombia have looked fantastic in this tournament. You talk about being able to score. They've been one of the few sides able to score goals in open play in the Copa America. They just got off beating Panama 5-0, which is a stomping in soccer to reach the stage. Uruguay beat Brazil in penalties. It's the first time they beat Brazil in a really, really long time. But when you talk about the
game was out of control,
tight checking matchup, that was as physical a game as you could get without it being out of hand. And I would like to play the devil's advocate here because I heard some things about the way Uruguay played of being like disgraceful to football and like you said, out of control, ridiculous, right? I would go and say it's brilliant because to me, what I was watching felt very similar to Bob Huggins' Press Virginia. Felt very similar to Shaka Smart's Havoc defense, right? It was, you're not going to give a red card to everyone out here. You won't. I dare you to. I dare you. You won't do it. You won't give a card to everyone, but we're going to be physical. We're going to foul. We're going to foul properly in the right areas, right? Shaka's defense, when they fouled, it was normally in the backcourt when they're pressing. Same thing with Bob Huggins' defense. They weren't fouling guys on easy layups, given an easy and one. Right, and that was a lot of times when Uruguay would foul is in a transition in the around the midfield area. They're not near the attacking danger areas because that's, as Kamala knows, context around a foul means a whole hell of a lot in soccer.
Yes.
You could commit one foul on one end of the pitch, and it's literally nothing, and everyone gets up. You can commit that foul on the other end of the pitch, the same exact thing, and you get a straight red, or you could get a yellow and a penalty, whatever. Right. So context matters, and Uruguay is smart enough to know that. So they know when to commit this foul, when to commit that foul, how to do it. Now, they did get a straight red, and it was the right call. And if you saw the replay, it was very dangerous. That guy could have easily broken his leg. And if he did, they probably wouldn't have shown the replay. It was that bad. But again, they had that kind of mindset of, well, we got one red. There was not that much time left in the game. It happened. You're not going to do it the whole game. So again, I understand why people who like soccer and enjoy the flow, right, of soccer and the beauty that you can have in all of it are like, what are we doing out here? But to me, this is a very brilliant strategy. And what we've, like I said, those two examples, Press Virginia and Havoc, came to mind immediately because that's exactly what they do. You turn the ball over, we're right on you, and okay, we commit a foul. We didn't take your legs out. It was a shoulder foul. No card. We move on. We stop you.
I mean, the team that. Yeah, so I think the problem that a lot of like soccer fans have with Uruguay is that is becoming their reputation. And so teams are kind of like expecting to like get hurt and get banged up, and fans are expecting to see their favorite players kind of get bodied. It's akin to kind of like what Philadelphia did with their hockey team back in the day, right? How they earned the Broad Street Bullies as a nickname. And that's kind of what Uruguay does, is like they bring out these guys, like you guys would remember Diego Forlan from, I think it was like the 2010 World Cup, right? You guys would remember Diego Forlan. Well, he would be kind of like your Wayne Gretzky, and then you throw like a Luis Suarez out there who is capable but also very brutish and dirty in the way he plays, to be like your Marty McSorley, to kind of like protect your
Edinson Cavani, there's another.
Yeah, Edinson Cavani
striker,
was another one
physical
too.
player.
That was a guy who didn't have a problem kicking someone.
And Suarez is place biting people.
He's a biter, yes. So like that's the problem, is like it's, yes, there are going to be roles for those kind of players, but I think what a lot of people with, when you talk about Copa America and CONCACAF, is that like Uruguay is just kind of like a team that's developed a dirty, like brutish reputation, and like some people don't have a problem with it. I understand the appeal behind it, right? But like as someone who grew up playing and played at like a pretty high level, I can't stand it. Like, yes, it's a contact sport, but some of the plays are downright dirty. They're downright dangerous. And like you said, Nick, like, yes, the straight red was appropriate at a minimum. But like, yeah, I that game was hard for me to watch.
So again, to play devil's advocate, we're talking about it. It's now in your head. It's now part of your game plan that you have to sit there mentally and go through that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like the shift in baseball, in my opinion, where, you know what, maybe the guy doesn't hit into it, but he walks up there at bat and he goes, why the hell are there 3 guys over there? Mm-hmm. It's now he's now not thinking about playing. He's thinking about what you're doing. And Uruguay now have that. Brazil, the whole time, you're right, looked like they were thinking about where's the next foul going to come. Yes. You know, what's going to happen to me this time? What's going to happen there? And their opponents are now thinking that. And again, that's why I think it's kind of brilliant. It is, like you said, a little, at times it's over the top. And it is amazing. But the way, again, I say they're fouling people in the right areas. They know how to foul. You talked about knowing how to get fouled in basketball. Uruguay knows how to foul without getting the cards. Right? They had only had, I think, 1 yellow card issued to them the entire Copa America before that game. But committed so many just fouls, right? And I understand exactly what you're saying, Tom. I understand the sentiment. I completely understand it. But to me, there's a little bit of a brilliance behind the way they're going about it, because I think the mental aspect of it is throwing their opponents off.
I think the hardest part about it, though, is like that was in a game against Brazil, and Brazil is just historically known for I'll start with the bad part. Brazil's known, like, in our generation for historically underperforming in big tournaments. They're not the squad that they used to be decades ago. But, like, Brazil's also known for playing some of, like, the most beautiful soccer that you could ever watch. Like, you give a Brazilian a football and your jaw's going to drop. Like, Brazilians are so good at football and they play the game so beautifully. Like, it's an art form. And so to see them, like, it's like putting an ice dancer in the ring with Mike Tyson. Like, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Like, it's just not
muck the game up.
It's yes, who's going to win?
Brazil's
Carol Channing or Mike Tyson? Who you got?
Uruguay's a team of mutters. And boy, they were breaking their mane in that game against Brazil, dude. But I think
Brazil's got all that talent. Muck it up.
I think Colombia is going to be able to stick with them. Colombia typically has some antics of their own. Yes, their goals are definitely driven by physical play. So that'll be a fun game to watch. July 10th at 8 p.m. probably on FS1.
Yep, tomorrow night, I believe, for context of when we're.
By the way, do you know how many fouls Uruguay had in that game?
It was like 30 something, wasn't it, or 28 maybe?
You're close. It was 26.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's so many.
2 yellow cards. Brazil had 15 and 2 yellow cards.
So many.
No, but yeah, again, I understand it completely, but I'm going to go out and say I'm rooting for Uruguay to win this title.
I mean, hey, got them to the
This,
semis.
yes,
You don't want
don't
to see
complain.
Messi
Don't
win one
complain when it
more.
works.
You don't want to see Messi win one more.
I always root for the underdog.
Yes, you do.
Whenever the
Messi has
underdog
a.
isn't
He's
against
got
me, I
his.
will always
I
root for
think
the
you're 0
underdog.
for 2 so far.
I don't give a shit. Give me the underdog. Give me Uruguay in the finals. I'll take them.
Messi already got
they-
his championship. He got his World Cup. So
Exactly.
This is going to be his last time, though. I would love to see Messi win one more Copa. That'd be special.
No. Anything else before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. That's going to take us to our other news, and our next biggest thing we wanted to cover was Wimbledon. It's a fortnight, as Kamala pointed out before the show. Wimbledon has been going on. Started last week. Today they started the quarterfinals and the singles. So just a quick recap for that. For the men in the quarters, you had the number one ranked player in the world, the Italian Yannick Sinner. His first tournament being ranked number one. He took on number 5, Daniil Medvedev today. Number 2, Novak Djokovic, still cranking it out there, is taking on number 9, Alex de Minaur from Australia on Wednesday. Carlos Alcaraz, number 3, French Open champion from about a month ago, reigning Wimbledon champion. He took on number 12 American Tommy Paul today. Number 13, another American, Taylor Fritz, will take on number 25, Lorenzo Musetti from Italy tomorrow as well. On the women's side, you had number 4, Elena Rybakina from Kazakhstan. She won this tournament in 2022. She's playing Alina Svitolina from Ukraine. She's number 21 now. Jasmine Paolini, also of Italy, number 7 ranked. She was the finalist in Roland Garros in singles and doubles. She took on American Emma Navarro from
UVA.
Number 19 in the world. Helena Ostapenko from Latvia, number 13, former French Open champion. She's going to take on Barbora Krejcikova from the Czech Republic or Czechia.
I was going to say, don't ask me where she's from.
31st ranked. She upset Danielle Collins, number 11, who is from
UVA, question mark?
Yes, UVA. Daniel Collins is from UVA. Okay. And the other quarter is a qualifier. Lulu Soon from New Zealand. She took on Donna Vekic, who is unseeded in this tournament today at Wimbledon. Couple of things to get through before we get to the results from the couple quarters that happened earlier today. On the men's side, if you didn't know, in majors they play best of 5 sets. You got to win 3 sets. And in this Wimbledon, through the matches today that happened, there have been 36 5-set matches in the whole men's singles draw. That is the most ever in a Grand Slam. Across all the Grand Slams ever in the history, there's never been more 5-set matches than what we've seen in this tournament. It's been really, really nuts. I mean, there's like certain guys like Ben Shelton, an American who's ranked in the top 20. I think he played 3 straight 5-setters. 3 or 4 straight 5-setters is crazy. It wears you down, though, right? Part of the beauty of watching a 5-setter is the grueling, mental and physical anguish that you see these guys go through. But the downside is that you got a day to recover, sometimes less, and then you got to take on your opponent who may have even played someone who got hurt and they only played half a set, right? So there's such that huge, swing, and well, at least with Ben Shelton, that kind of showed when he lost finally. Americans still in it. We kind of went through it. You had Tommy Paul, number 12 in the world. Taylor Fritz, number 13 on the men's side. Then you had number 19, Emma Navarro. On the women's side, so that's 3 Americans remaining in the quarters. It's the first time 2 American men are in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon in 24 years. Think about that. That's kind of crazy, right? Yamine Lamal was only a twinkle in his father's eye at that point, right?
Who were the last 2? Was Andy Roddick one of them?
I mean, possibly. We're talking about that time frame. You would think maybe it was Andy Roddick, maybe at the end of Pete Sampras's career. So maybe you talk about those 2. Could be someone that we're not that familiar with. But, 24 years since we've had 2 American men in the quarters at Wimbledon. It's the second Wimbledon quarterfinal for Taylor Fritz, 4th of his career. It's the first quarterfinal ever for Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul won the grass court tune-up coming into this. So he's been playing pretty well. This is the furthest.
Do you want your answer there for?
Yes, I do.
The last
I'm curious.
Americans, Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, and Jan Michael Gamble.
Okay,
that's pretty amazing. I don't know that name.
Jan Michael. It's last
Jan
time
Michael
at least
Vincent?
2 Americans.
Is it yogging or is it jogging? I think it's a soft J.
Soft J.
I think it's a soft J because it's JAN hyphen Michael.
Dr. Yanni Tor.
Yes. Thank you, Kamlo.
Good research, boy.
Yep, this is the furthest Emma Navarro has advanced ever in a Grand Slam. She beat number 2 Coco Gauff, of also an American, in the round of 16 to get here. Amazingly, Coco has still not made the quarters at Wimbledon. All right, she's round of 16. She's gotten to that first year when she was 15 years old and beat Venus. She got to the round of 16, but she's still never gotten over that hump at Wimbledon and get to the quarters, which is interesting.
It's the first time on grass.
I don't know. You would think she does fairly well because she's still in it for doubles. I was going to get to that in a second, but her and Jess Pegula are still playing in doubles in the quarters. I mean, Coco is an excellent doubles player, so it's not that surprising on any surface. She can win. She's a threat to win any tournament because she won in Roland Garros doubles. But I don't know. Maybe it is a surface thing because she's won the U.S. Open on the hard court. I don't know. It is interesting. You would think she'd be pretty good on grass since that's the first time we saw her was when she was at Wimbledon at 15 and went on that run. But this is the first time 2 Italian men, Yannick Sinner and Lorenzo Musetti, have made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. It's the first time 3 Italians have made the quarters overall, men's and women's, because you also have Paolini on the women's side at any Grand Slam. That's kind of amazing. Paolini, a couple things with her, which I think are fascinating. She entered this season, 2024, 4-16 in her career in Grand Slams. It's not like she's a young buck. She's been a pro for about 10 years, but she had done essentially nothing. But now she finds herself ranked in the top 10 and, making another run in another Grand Slam. So that's kind of amazing because, again, she was finalist at the French Open. Djokovic is looking for his 25th major, which would be the most all-time men or women. I believe he's now currently tied with Margaret Court for the most all-time at 24. Serena sits at 23, if you're wondering. And I think Nadal's at 22. But if he could get that would be the most all-time of anyone, counting the Open era. And he's looking for his 8th Wimbledon, which would tie Roger Federer for most Wimbledon championships all-time. Alcaraz is looking for back-to-back championships at Wimbledon and his 4th career major. And like we said, Gauff and Pegula, Coco and Jess Pegula are still in it in the doubles, as well as Dolehide and Kravchuk. They're also an American pair, ladies doubles. They're ranked number 7 in the world. They're still in it in the quarters for doubles. And one interesting thing that I found, talking about Lulu Sun from New Zealand, the qualifier who made it this far. She's looking to become the first qualifier to ever win at Wimbledon. Second ever. The first ever qualifier to win a major was in 2021 when Britain's Emma Raducanu won the U.S. Open. And funny enough, she beat Raducanu in the round of 16 to get to the quarters in 3 sets. But she's also looking to become the first Zealander, which I believe is the demonym for people from New Zealand, or a Zealander. She's looking to become the first Zealander to win a Grand Slam since Tony Wilding in 13 and 14. No, not 2013 and 2014, 1913 and 1914. So Wilding is the only Zealander ever to win a tennis major. He won 6 individual titles and 5 doubles titles. But what's, I guess, tragic and amazing about him is that after he won doubles in 1914, we're in the heart of World War I for you history people out there who keep track of time and space. He enlisted to help fight in World War I and was killed in 1915 at the age of 31, ending his career. Tillman. Yeah. So that's amazing. He's the only Zealander to ever win a major and the last one to do it. And again, 1913 was his last singles, 1914 was his last doubles title. I thought that was amazing when I was doing some research that I came about that. I was like, Tony Wilding is the name. So I hope that is something we learn new.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Last couple things with it. Again, I said we had a couple of quarterfinal matches today. Daniil Medvedev pulled off the upset against number 1 Yannick Sinner in 5 sets, another 5-setter. Again, he'll move on to the semis. Carlos Alcaraz dispatched Tommy Paul. Paul took the first set 7-5, but Alcaraz rolled from there. So they're both in the semis. On the women's side, Emma Navarro, she lost to Jasmine Paolini in straight sets. And Donna Vekic, she ended Lulu Sun's run at Wimbledon. So just thought a couple interesting things there. Something to watch for over the weekend, is the championships, or the finals at Wimbledon, because it's the championships Wimbledon. But the finals are going to happen on Saturday and Sunday. So that's something to watch
Sponsored by
for.
Rolex.
No, we are not sponsored by Rolex.
Yeah,
we wish we were sponsored by Rolex.
Imagine.
Right, anything else tennis-wise, Milos?
Too good.
No, I forgot about the Milos clip. No, I don't have anything tennis related. That's you kind of covered all the bases there.
I got a little. Do you see Joker after after he advanced? Just his speech to the crowd. I guess that dude wants all the smoke. He doesn't care. He's like, "Oh, bring on the booze." Her worse. Dude's gonna win again.
Playing the violin.
Yeah.
No,
I love him.
You know what it reminded me of? It was very Michael Jordan-esque.
Yeah.
I'm going to create a slight where there is none, right? Because the whole thing was that the crowd was supposedly chanting Rune for Holger Rune, who's his Danish opponent. He was playing that. They do that. His fans do that every match. But that's so Jordan, right? To be like, no, they were booing me. F you guys, I'm going to stick it to you. He says I've played in more hostile environments than this. You can't touch me. That's like so. You're right. I loved it. It made you want to root for him to win because it's like
psychotic. I love it.
It is, but that mindset to beat. That's why it's 20. Exactly. That's why it's 24 Grand Slams. Right. That's why Jordan had 6 finals and 6 finals MVPs. Right. It's that mindset that breeds that. You don't get that just by. There's a fine line between like obsession and psychosis, right?
It's a Mamba mentality.
Yes, it is, and it was. You're right, boy. Kind of awesome. Even if you're right, is a little out there, right? You say, okay, he's making something out of nothing, but you know what? He's not the first one to do it.
It's like
and he'll hardly be the last.
That like one rookie that was like, "Oh, good game, Michael." He's like, and I took that personally.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. That was the first thing that came to mind, is that this is so Michael Jordan, what we're watching from Djokovic right there. And that's why I loved it. You're right. It makes you want to root for him to win it. So we'll see. He's still got his chance. He's got a couple more matches to get through. Anything else tennis-wise before we move on?
No, that's all I have.
All right, I love it. That's going to bring us to our Mimosa Minute, brought to you by Main & Co. As a woman-owned company, the creators of the Modern Mimosa have been striving to highlight brilliance in women's athletics since 2020. Follow Main & Co. on Instagram at main_co and visit them at mainsip.com to get your Modern Mimosas today. As you guys brought up earlier before the show started, there's a lot of cocktails coming out from them too, to be expected this summer, which is something cool to look out for. I think we said Irish coffee,
coffee,
mezcal,
matcha martini, mezcal margarita. Yeah, they got some bangers coming out this summer.
Yes, so
lavender,
that's some good
you
stuff.
Said lavender. Love a good lavender cocktail.
Yes,
essential oils.
So some good stuff to look for from Main & Co. coming up. But our Mimosa Minute, the first one I had was Miki Sudo. Are you guys familiar with Miki Sudo?
Educate us, Nick.
Country of origin?
Miki Sudo set a woman's world record by eating 51 hot dogs at the Nathan's Famous hot dog eating competition last week. She also claimed her 10th title overall in the women's division.
That's
so
what we're
domination.
10, yes. Couldn't wait for that one, by the way. The next thing I have on there is Caitlin Clark, who could be on here every week, but she recorded the first ever triple-double in WNBA history by a rookie in her Indiana Fever's 83-78 win over the first-place New York Liberty. She had 19 points 13 assists and 12 rebounds in that matchup. You talk about comments, boy. Sabrina Ionescu, arguably the best player on the Liberty. After the game, she was like, well, yeah, this is their championship. This is their Super Bowl. Like, we have bigger fish to fry, basically, and I love that. But all the attention's going to Caitlin Clark and Ionescu, who is renowned for triple-doubles. I believe she has the NCAA record for most triple-doubles ever, men's or women's. Ionescu does. Oregon.
Oh, okay.
All right. The O. Can't do it. When they played at UVA, they had all the fans there doing the O. It was kind of awesome. But yeah, Ionescu's
play 90 yards.
No, it was the third play. We stuffed them. 2-yard loss, and then 3rd and 14, they run a QB draw and runs it 85 yards untouched for a touchdown. They played that highlight on his Heisman reel the entire year, which was pretty sweet. In that game, my wife, Jordan, also wore a green dress to the game because she didn't know that the colors of Oregon were green and gold, or green and yellow. And I was like, what are you doing? We're playing Oregon. She was like, so who cares? I was like, you're wearing green. So who cares?
Probably a smart move, actually, when you look back.
That's what we said, because she walked around the whole game going like this. Like she had just won. Yep. But yeah, I love the comments from Ionescu. That was almost the best part of that. My third thing is in the world of track and field, Ukraine's Yaroslava Mahuchik set a world record in women's high jump at 2.10 meters. She broke a 37-year-old record held by Bulgaria's Stefka Kostadinova, at 2.09 meters, or Kostadinova. All right.
So what's that in American? 2.1 meters.
Foreign.
That is
close to 6.5 feet.
6.88. Round up 6.9 feet.
That's pretty amazing. So, props to her for setting that world record. And she's not going to look to claim carry that over into the Paris Olympics and claim gold in that. Anything else from the Mimosa Minute that you guys wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I've got one. Livy Dunn, the social media star, gymnast, national champion at LSU, girlfriend of Paul Skeens, or it's Paul Skeens is her boyfriend. But basically, she's coming back for her 5th year, which I think is a smart move, because why not? She's one of the biggest NIL money getters in the world of sports right now, in college athletics. Why not come get your money? Well, Paul Skeens he's going to get his second contract. You got to get yours. It's a smart move. Win another national championship.
I love it.
Yeah.
Can't take championships away from you when you're in it. Kamlo, anything?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it a little bit, Nick, but I wanted to keep talking about Lulu Soon, the Zealander tennis player. She was really what stuck out to me this past week. She started the year ranked 219th, right? The beginning of the tennis season, she was ranked 219th, and really just kind of snuck in to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon and rose all the way from 219th all the way up to 53rd, which is an insane jump. Yet she went on to lose. She went on to lose in the quarterfinals, like you said, but like her career earnings coming into this tournament were just over $300,000. By advancing to the quarterfinals, she secured herself a guaranteed minimum $480,000 check.
Yes,
which is awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. But I think, like, I saw an interview where someone was talking to Coco Gauff about like the talent pool in women's tennis, and like I'll do my best to paraphrase what she said and how she like summed up like why we're seeing like so many like different, like, I guess you could say, upsets in women's tennis. But she pretty much said like there's pretty much no limit to the talent depth of women's tennis, and it contributes to like the fluidity of the sport, and that there are pretty much winners scattered throughout their ranks, and the beautiful thing about it is that there's a good chance that someone's going to win that we've never heard of. And I kind of really like that, right? And it reminded me kind of how, we were highlighting the 16-year-old who plays for Spain, like seeing that kind of depth and seeing that kind of like randomness in a like tournament bracket style sport. I think that's kind of cool. So I really wanted to highlight Lulu Soon and Coco Gauff and really just, I guess, the female pool at Wimbledon, because the matches have been really good. I've made a pretty conscious effort to at least watch a little bit every day that there's a match on, and it definitely doesn't disappoint. I've enjoyed it. I'll probably keep watching it. I'm excited for the finals. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. The quality of tennis is always great at Wimbledon, but it has been very fun to see. One other thing that I think plays into why you see so many upsets in the women's versus what you see in the men's is because of the fact that women's is 2 out of 3 and men's is 3 out of 5. So it's easier to take 2 sets versus 3, right? It's kind of when Doug was on here the other week and talked about how you don't see the upsets in the professional ranks for basketball because you have to win a best of 7 versus college, you're just going to win 1. Kind of the same idea. I just got to take 2, right? How many? Correct. You probably could go through all the years and see so many guys who, if they just had to win 2 out of 3 against this guy, would have upset like Djokovic. But Djokovic will outlast you, and he'll best of 5. It's so difficult to beat him. I think that plays into it, but I think it is also, and I've said this before too, just exactly what Coco said, the depth in the women's game. There are so many people who have the ability to win a major, whereas in the men's game, there's not. You don't have that. Yes, there's great players, right? There's fantastic players, but the number of guys that can win a major is very small. Versus the women's, you could throw a dart at anyone out there. I mean, that's why you've seen unseeded players. That's why a qualifier or Raducanu a couple years ago won a major. You'll never see that really in the men's game. That if a unranked, unseeded player won a major for the men's, that would be like one of the biggest things to talk about ever in the tennis world, just because it's just not going to happen. But it is cool. Yeah, maybe we see a first-time major winner. The odds are that we're going to see a first-time major winner this year because I think there's only 2 major champions left in Ostapenko and Rybakina. I have to go back and look at my list. But, yeah, only 2 major champions left. So something to look for, something cool. Anything else before we wrap this segment up?
No, sir.
No. All right, so that's going to do it for our Mimosa Minute this week, sponsored by Maine & Co. Follow them on Instagram at Maine_Co and visit them at mainsip.com to order your whatever drinks you want, your modern mimosas right now. But like we said, you got the other stuff coming down the pipe for them. So look for that stuff coming out. Maine & Co. championing women's athletics since 2020. Now we move on to our baseball segment brought to you by Bobo's Fine Chicken in Virginia Beach. Visit Bobo's on Shore Drive near Chicks Beach to get you some homemade Southern-style chicken and sides. Take it on the go or on your way to the beach or a ball game. Bobo's and baseball, ain't nothing better. Baseball stuff. My first thing here, this is just for you, boy. Ben Rice or Ben Thrice or Ben Rice Baby or Ben Ben the Rice is right. Whatever other puns. Puns are not lazy writing, by the way. Puns are great. Whatever you want to call it. But Ben Rice became the first Yankees rookie ever to hit 3 homers in the same game when he had 3 home runs and 7 RBI in the Yankees' 14-4 victory over the Red Sox on Saturday. Thought that was really cool to see, especially a kid kind of got thrust into it out of necessity. Been playing really well in the minors.
He's playing his way into
to
a role. I mean, good for him. I mean, you're going to have to – Anthony Rizzo's going to have to earn that spot back.
Well, you're going to make room for – you're going to make at-bats for Ben Rice. You're not going to sit there and say, Rizzo, you don't see the field at all.
Well, yeah, correct. You're going to probably –
way too much.
You're going to find a way to get – you're going to find a way to keep Rice in the lineup.
Yes, that's more of a – that's probably the better way to put it. But yeah, I love to see that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Speaking of the Yankees,
they
haven't won a series since I believe June 8th.
Is that a long time ago?
Yeah, Nick, that's a month ago.
Oh, Oh, is it? I haven't been keeping track.
Yeah, they've
Let's go
they've
O's.
slipped, and Kamlo's O's have taken the lead in the AL East.
White hot.
Yes, they have. You are correct. Can't say I'm surprised at all. The Orioles are deeper, more consistent. They bat for a higher average, and I would say they field. They run the bases better. They field better. So the only thing that you could say for the Yankees is I would take the Yankees pitching over the Orioles pitching, but everything else favors the Orioles. So there's zero surprise there. You're seeing a lot of these same Yankees offensive woes that you saw in years past, where you get too much swing and miss, too much all or nothing.
They're
3-7
in their last 10.
You get outbursts like you saw with the Ben Rice game with the 14-4, but then you might go, 6 games and not even combined for 14 runs, right? So it's something that they might be a team that really needs the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think they've already played. How many? I feel like Joe. Maybe it's just because I always see Judge's stats, and he's played more games than anyone else. He's already played 90. But yeah, they just feel like they definitely need a break.
Yep. My next thing, I had a couple kind of record-breaking things here, record tying, but the Twins' Jose Miranda, he tied an MLB record with hits in 12 straight at-bats.
Saw that.
Which is nuts, right? The record is held by 3 other people, which to me is also just insane. Johnny Kling in 1902. I'm sure we all remember.
I was about to say it's probably like 3-Finger Brown or like.
Oh, the next one here go. Pinky Higgins, our all-time favorite. Pinky Higgins in 1938, and Walt Dropo in 1952. So he did something haven't done since 1952.
It's amazing.
Yes, the incomparable Pinky Higgins. By the way, then another kind of again franchise-setting thing here was the Pirates. Who saw this? But they tied a franchise record with 7 home runs in a game in their 14-2 win over the Mets. All the runs they scored were via the home run, which is their most in one game since 1900. Rowdy Tellez and the going to be All-Star Brian Reynolds became the first set of teammates in Major League history to each have 2 homers in the game, and each of them hit a grand slam in the same game. And also in that game, you mentioned Paul Skeens, Livy Dunn's boyfriend. He improved to 5-0 with a 2.12 ERA, and he is also going to be an All-Star. So I thought that game was kind of wild. To see those things happen.
So, like, Skeens is going to be an All-Star. I think he's got one of the fewest innings pitched to become an All-Star. I think he deserves it because he's been that good.
Oh, he absolutely does.
But do you think there's a lot of people who want him as the starter?
As the starter, I would have no issue with it.
Really? I don't.
Who would you rather have?
Who's a starting pitcher that's bigger than him right now? That's hotter than.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is that there isn't a starting pitcher that's bigger than him or hotter than him. But I think there's starting pitchers that have earned it more than him.
Or more deserving. Like, who would you have then, boy?
Reynaldo Lopez is my starter. He's got the lowest
I like
ERA.
that. Are you talking about like a Chris Sale, Lopez, maybe a Glasnow, maybe a Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler? Is that what you're saying? Those guys are a little more deserving?
Zach Wheeler, I would say, because they've pitched the full half of the season is why I would say that. I understand that Skeens is the guy right now, and he's the hottest player on the planet. He's must-see TV. I mean, in my opinion, I'd go out of my way to watch his games. And maybe that would give better ratings because you go see Skeens come out there the first. But I just feel like you got to pitch a full half of the year. I've zero issue with him being an All-Star. He deserves to be an All-Star. I just don't want him being the starter.
Was he selected by the team or voted on by the fans to be at the All-Star game?
By the players.
Players, yeah.
Right?
I think so, yeah.
Players
That's usually what happens this late. Yeah, because I think fans just starters.
Yeah. I understand what the boy's saying. I get it, right? Part of me would love to see Chris Sale start, to be honest with you.
He could
just because of how far
there's
he's
someone
come.
that does have a chance. I mean, his ERA is 2.71. He's 11-3 on the year.
Yes, he's been fantastic. He's been a revelation. Him and Reynaldo Lopez have been revelations for the Braves. Who knows where they would be without the two of them, especially because offensively, right? Marcelo Ozuna's been kind of it. They really haven't gotten much from. They've been injured. Michael Harris has been injured. Riley's starting to get hot, but Albies was injured. Matt Olson hasn't been that good. So you're talking about a team that's not getting the contributions they were used to offensively, but then you get a Chris Sale and Reynaldo Lopez seemingly coming out of nowhere
and
have been
Strider's
freaking dominant.
And Strider's out.
Yeah, Spencer Strider's out. Good point, boy. So yeah, I would. Part of that I would love to see Paul Skeens start. That if I had to pick, that's who I'm going to pick. I think he'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to see.
It also does.
I think he's earned it.
Yeah, but it does come down to whose arm is available as well, right?
Yes.
Because I have no idea what the schedule is for some of the starters I just named. Are they throwing 2 days before the All-Star break?
Correct. You're right. It'd be nice to see one of those Atlanta guys start because of the stories of kind of where they came from. You didn't know what you're going to get from both of those guys, and to have them put up the numbers they've done, that'd be cool.
Like Reynaldo Lopez, his ERA right now in the National League is almost half a point lower than everyone else. That's pretty damn good.
Yes.
That to me, I don't know. I feel like I know he hasn't thrown. He's only thrown 90 innings, but God, those numbers are tough.
No, he's been fantastic. Our boy Shota Imanaga on his Malort's Field Rager after he chugged a bunch of coffee, he also made the All-Star team, which was cool to see for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Yep. My next thing, Christian Walker. Yes. Christian Walker could provide you some Jepsons after the way he continues to just torment the Dodgers. Woo! He hit 5 homers in a 3-game series this past week against the Dodgers. That's insanity is what it is. He has hit 27 home runs in just 90 career games against LA. Think about that. Only 90 games hit 27 home runs. I'm no math person, but over the course of a 162 game, he's on pace to close to double that number. Right, so you're talking about this guy hitting 45 to 50 home runs against your team over the course of 162 games. He has hit 16 home runs at Dodger Stadium as an opponent, which is the most by anyone since 2018. So Christian Walker just mashing it, snail.
Yeah, biggest. He's in my opinion, he's the biggest All-Star snub.
Agreed.
I don't really understand how he doesn't get to the All-Star game.
He'll get there.
30% of his hits are home runs.
Well, he. By the way, Nick, he's 33. He's not like a young buck.
Well, you know where he came from? He was an Orioles cast-off. The Orioles were just like Justin Turner. They were like, "You ain't any good, whatever." And the Diamondbacks were like, "No, this guy's really good. Are you sure you just don't care about him?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't care." And so the Diamondbacks gave him an opportunity, and that's why his first opportunities were so late in his career. Well, because he spent so many years under the Orioles' garbage umbrella.
No, I get that.
He got to blossom.
I get that. In Baltimore's defense, though, they had him for 2 years in 2014, 2015. And then he goes to Arizona 2017 and on. And the first 2 years in Arizona, he didn't play. 11 games and 37 games. And then he gets to be the full-time starter in 2019 and puts up great 259, 29, 73.
Oh,
you can pencil him in
really
for 30 and 90 almost every year.
Yes.
And this is right now he's on pace for his best year ever.
And he had his best year ever last year.
Yes, 258, 33, and 103.
Yes, he's been, and I believe he has at least one Gold Glove. He won the Gold Glove last year. I think he has 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see.
So he's also a fantastic fielder over there at first base. So yes, Christian Walker
He
very
does have two Gold Gloves.
I mean, I don't want to say underrated because you have the stats in front of you. Underappreciated for sure.
Definitely
extremely underappreciated. He needs to find his way to the All-Star game. I think he's like 3rd in the National League in home runs. Right? And to me, unless you're batting like 200, he's still batting like 270. So there's no reason he shouldn't be there. He should be at the All-Star game. It makes no sense. But, we've got to have someone from every team. So Pete Alonso has to be there. As much as
Right.
I do love,
Is that-
I love
is that-
Pete Alonso.
I
That's
do
who
love
took
Pete
his spot.
Alonso.
That's who
That's
took
the
his
guy
spot.
you picked.
No,
Well,
that's who.
it's
Yeah.
You had to have a
the
Met,
Mets.
and he's a first baseman, and that's who
he
took
does have
Christian
the
Walker's
Mets.
spot.
Yeah, he does have the best numbers on the Mets. But yeah, you're right. Christian Walker third in the NL in home
Yep.
runs.
No, he's
And he does play for plays for a team that went to the World Series last year.
Correct. They'll find a way to get him there. I'm sure of it. There's going to be someone like we saw Rafi Devers just pulled out. There's going to be someone on the NL side, and I hope, for goodness sake, that Christian Walker's the first person you call because he should be there. Yeah. Absolutely. The next thing I have, per my Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's jersey, the A's Joey Estes threw the first complete game shutout for the A's since Sean Manaea in 2021, when he only allowed 5 hits and just 1 walk over this past week. Thought that's pretty cool. Just want to give a shout out to the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas fan base.
Did you see there was a guy at that game that held a sign up? You saw this combo?
No, I was laughing at Nick, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, this guy held up a sign that basically said like the weather temperatures right now, and it was like 80 degrees in Oakland, 108 in Sacramento, 115 in Vegas. What are we doing?
That's a brilliant sign, dude. And you know it has to be like unavoidable in that stadium too, because he's probably like one of the only like 3 people there.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I love it. Next thing I got here, Jake Berger hit a walk-off 3-run home run. We know we love walk-offs here.
Hit a walk-off.
Yes. Great name.
Yes, hit a whopper.
Hit a whopper. For the Marlins, as they beat the White Sox 7-4 the other day, Christian Vasquez of the Twins hit a walk-off homer to lead off the 9th inning. I think it might have been the first pitch, actually, off of Josh Hader as the Twins beat the Astros 3-2. What I thought was cool about this is both those guys hit their walk-off homer against their former team they had previously played for right before this.
Oh, that is kind of cool.
So I thought I like that.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm looking at a picture of Jake Berger. This dude is an absolute unit. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's huge.
Love him.
Dude, this guy, oh my gosh, this guy is a brick house. This guy is massive.
You wouldn't think this is a professional third baseman.
No, third baseman, no. DH, maybe. He's got like a big poppy build. He's a
good player, though.
He looks like he pounds Wahlburgers.
6'2", 230.
That might be a little generous. 230. They're maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably from his rookie year.
Yeah.
Yep. But he's awesome. He's a really good player.
Sounds like it.
Then I will say the last thing I had before, I don't know if you want to talk about any All-Star stuff here. I know you kind of brought it up, was Brenton Doyle. Kamlo and the boy. Do you know where Brenton Doyle went to college?
Notre Dame.
Cal State Northridge.
No, he went to thank you, boy, for that.
You got that?
Yes, I did. He went to a school that another former great Doyle that we know from high school, Kevin Doyle.
Shepherd?
Shepherd University is where Brenton Doyle.
He went to Shepherd University?
Brenton Doyle is from Warrenton, Virginia, played at Kettle Run High School, and played at Shepherd.
What?
My God! That is crazy.
Crazy,
I literally,
right?
when I sent you that he was mashing it, and I was like Brenton Doyle. I was like, who is this guy? Like, I gotta look at, and I was like, his stats are really good on the year. I was like, I feel bad I don't know who this guy is because he's on the Rockies. But wow,
Shepherd University in West Virginia, from Warrenton, Virginia, went to Kettle Run High School. Brenton Doyle. Thought that was. Yeah, I thought part of the reason you sent me him is because you knew that, but I was like...
No, he just earned a mashing it snail. He earned it.
He did. Yeah, so I thought that was amazing. Wow. He's been playing some really good baseball, by the way. He batted like almost 600 this last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's on absolute last 7 games, 524, 3 home runs, 7 RBI, and 5 walks.
That's wild.
In 21 at bats. That's crazy.
And he also steals. He's one of the, if not the fastest player in Major League Baseball right now. He is
really,
super
he does. He's got
fast.
20 bags on the year.
Yeah, I believe if you play with him in the show, his speed rating is off the charts. So
he's having a great year. 802 OPS, 278, 12 and 37 with 20 bags.
Yes, he's a good player. That's how they make him out there in Shepherd University in West Virginia. Part of the PSAC for football.
Who was
He's from Fauquier County.
Yeah,
did you not hear me, Kamala?
Yeah.
I said he's from Warrenton.
No, I got so culture shocked when you said Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Yeah, when you said Shepherd University, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, he grew up not far from where we were.
Is there a guy in the NFL from Shepherd too?
Yes, the backup quarterback for the Bears. Goodness gracious, the name is escaping me.
I know, I couldn't. That's why
he became the first undrafted Division II player to start a game in like either 50 years or 70 years, something insane. For that, but yes, that's Shepherd University.
Tyson Bagent.
Tyson Bagent.
Bagent,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
yep.
That's amazing. Shepherd has a guy in the NFL and in the show.
Yes, that's pretty wild. Thought that was worth mentioning. Anything else before we move on?
No, sir.
Didn't know if you want to get any All-Star stuff.
No, that was
Christian Walker would have been the
Christian
number
Walker
one
was
thing.
what I was what I was going to pull up. Yeah, was Christian Walker.
This isn't anything we're probably going to spend. This isn't going to be anything we're probably going to spend a lot of time on. But over the weekend we were hanging out with some friends from Maryland, and we got to talking baseball because they
crab cakes and football.
Yeah, because they live like 10 minutes from the Guinness Brewery up there, 10 minutes from Camden Yards. So we were chopping it up talking baseball, and I dropped a Frederick Keys reference. I was like, oh yeah, well I grew up like on Baltimore and Maryland baseball because my school had Keys for Reading, where you could read like 5 books and you got free tickets to a Frederick Keys game. And dude, did you guys know the Keys aren't affiliated with the Orioles anymore?
Yes.
They've been unaffiliated, playing in the Carolina League since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. That was a bummer, man. My dog Coyote's out there.
Same colors?
Yeah, same colors, same logo, same insignia, same mascot. Coyote's still doing his thing, but they're not a farm system for anyone anymore.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the story about how I almost died at a Keys game? Kamala?
I don't think so.
If you know our father, you've heard it 1,000 times.
Wait, was this the railing? Was this the railing?
Yes,
this is the railing.
The foul ball? Yeah, okay, yeah,
yes.
I've heard it.
Yeah, a lefty came up. I got how old? I was probably like 8 or something.
Old enough to be killed by a foul ball.
Old enough to be killed by a foul ball. And it was like eye level at the railing, and a lefty came up and hooked one. And it had to be like 100 plus off the bat. And
I can hear your dad telling me the story now. It would have killed him, Stephen Comlow. Stephen Comlow would have killed him.
It hit the railing so hard in front of me, like right in front of my eyes, and then bounced all the way to the fence. Like that's how hard that.
Terrible. I saw your dad wrestle a group of dudes for a foul ball at a Keys game.
Yep, I think I was standing right there with you. And I think many of those dudes were young children.
We were playing, but they all looked adults to us because we were in elementary school. We were I was going up because they had like the trough of water fountains by the bathroom, and I was going up there because we had been like playing on the hill and I needed some water. So I went up to get a drink and I saw your dad and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Veshy," and he was like, "Hey, Stephen Comlow, how's it going?" And your dad heard the crack of the bat, looked up, and the foul ball landed probably like 10 feet behind him, and a bunch of people jumped on it, and your dad got right in the mix. I don't think he came away with the ball, which is a bad look for Big Mike, but he was kind of like the last pup to the trough on that one.
He paused mid-sentence, maybe even mid-word when he was talking to you. This is like memory burned in my brain. He's like, "Oh, hey, Stephen Comlow." You're right. You hear the crack of the bat, and you see some people move, and he just stops and just beelines and goes weaves his way through these people and leaves us 2 children unattended to 30 yards away to go get this garbage foul ball at a single A baseball game. It was mid-sentence, combo.
Yeah.
Mid-sentence.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was so much fun.
Anything else baseball-wise before we move on?
No, that's good to end it.
That's good to end that on. All right, so that's going to do it for our baseball segment, sponsored by Bobo's Fine Chicken in Virginia Beach. Hopefully they're going to still want to sponsor us after that segment.
Thanks, Bobo's.
But coming for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for some handcrafted chicken, sides, and more. They're onshore drive near Chicks Beach. Bobo's Fine Chicken. Come and get you some. Love it. I'm glad we took that trip down memory lane.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes, that's going to lead us into our favorites segment this week. If you're new to the show, our favorites segment is a segment we do at the end, where we take some category and we provide our favorites of that category. So not necessarily like who we think are the best point guards ever, but who were our favorite point guards ever to watch, who were our favorite center fielders ever to watch. So it's from the fans' perspective, because at the end of the day, without the fans, there's no games. It doesn't matter, right? So our favorite segment each week is sponsored by One Legacy Title and Escrow. Visit them at onelegacyflorida.com to see how they can help you with your next closing, and follow them on Instagram at One Legacy Florida. That if you go to their Instagram stuff, you'll learn a whole lot about the importance of title professionals and the importance of title insurance, and why you go through that process when you are a prospective home buyer, and how important it is to have someone like that in your back pocket. One Legacy Title and Escrow, because your legacy matters. So this week, our favorites category was our favorite Dutch footballers.
Hey.
Yes, for whatever reason, the boy has to ask that question, and we'll get to that here in a second. But favorite Dutch footballers or Dutch soccer players was our category this week, in honor of the Dutch making it to the semifinals of the Euros, and as we kind of said, hope maybe progressing further from there. Who would like to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start because I don't have footballers.
Oh, that's nice.
I read
Quality
Dutch
program.
players, and I thought that meant Dutch athletes. I was like, oh, okay, cool. They're in the Euros, but I don't watch soccer, so Dutch
even
athletes.
after it was clarified several times.
I've been on the road last couple days.
Potato.
I just saw Dutch. So
Let's hear Stevie's totally irrelevant favorite.
There's 2 things I hate most in this world: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
And that's perfect to segue, because my honorable mention is gold member.
No, it's not.
Just freak athlete. The flexibility off the charts.
He was a great He was a great roller skater. The flexibility.
Can I paint the use gold? It's kind of my thing.
Unfortunate smelting accident.
Would you like a smoke and a pancake? Flapjack and a cigarette? Cigar and a waffle? Pipe and a crepe?
Anyway, yes. Moving on from that one. My next ones are baseball players, because they do actually have a great baseball team.
Yes, they do.
One guy that you would know, Kamlo, is my number 5, Jonathan Scope.
Oh,
there
yeah.
he
He
is.
used to play for the Orioles, second baseman.
And
Power hitting
came up
second
through the
baseman. You know
Frederick
how rare
Keys.
that is?
All right. Shit, they're stickers.
Number 4, Didi Gregorius. That's a name. We that's a guy.
That's a name.
Play for the Yankees, shortstop.
He's
Complete
been
Yankee,
knighted,
yeah.
for God's sakes. Show the man some respect.
He's Sir
Yeah.
Didi Gregorius.
He's Sir Didi.
Yes, he is.
Why'd
We
he
discussed this.
Yeah, whatever.
Get out
Pri-
of my
prior.
laboratory.
They have some great shortstops, by the way. Some great
Yes,
middle
they do.
infielders.
Yes, they
Number
do.
3 is another shortstop, Andrelton Simmons. One of the best fielding shortstops I've seen.
Ever.
Yeah.
Even metrics-wise, fielding defensive war over career, Andrelton Simmons is up there. I want to say top 5 for shortstops ever.
Yeah, if only that guy could hit better than 240. But, yeah, he's phenomenal defender.
In a different time, he would have gotten the Mark Belanger treatment and been able to play longer, because he is a better hitter than Mark Belanger ever was of your Orioles combo.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark Belanger's up there with defensive WAR with Simmons and other guys like your Omar Vizquel's, your Ozzie Smiths are all up there. But you're right, Anderson Simmons, sick.
Yeah, phenomenal defensive player. Number 2, another shortstop used to play for the Red Sox, now on the Padres, Xander Bogaerts. Great power hitting shortstop. He's got 2 World Series, I think. Love me some Xander.
I think he does.
Number 1, a guy that can paint the absolute corners. Just a phenomenal artist. Vincent Van Gogh.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. Is it Manet or Monet? Which one did you want?
We started with Goldmember and ended with Vincent Van Gogh, F yourself.
Let me cut off my ear to give to you.
That man
boy.
sacrificed everything for a championship. Are you kidding me?
Oh, God.
Mr. Starry Night himself.
Bravo.
So that's going to do it for our series, What Caught My Eye. I think this is going to be the last show.
Yeah, that's
Goodness
that's
gracious.
All
right.
Don't act like Bob Lee Swagger was a better one.
It absolutely was. He was an actual shooter. Van Gogh is not an athlete. He's an artist.
We're in the weeds.
You could argue.
We're in the weeds.
You could argue.
No, you really can't, boy.
Well, it's my list. He's my favorite, so
you really can't. Okay, I love it. Kamlo, I'm going to go after that, so you can go last because your knowledge of Dutch footballers is, much better than mine.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But I'm going to start off because, again, I actually followed the directions on this. So my first, I had a couple honorable mentions. First one is Johan Cruyff, who we talked about Total Football earlier. Johan Cruyff, like one of the originators of Total Football when that came out. I believe he had some beautiful flow back in the day. So he was pretty sweet.
Mane.
Yes. My next one is Ruud van Nistelrooy. I believe was he a striker, Kamlo, or a forward?
Yes, he was a striker.
But Van Nistelrooy, a great goal scorer, did it for a long time at an extremely high level. The next one I have there was another striker who I liked a little more just because I thought he was a little more physical and kind of more when I was following football more. But Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, another big physical goal scorer. Believe he played most of his time in the Bundesliga, Kamlo, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Van Nistelrooy played kind of all over. I think he had some time in La Liga and the Premier League, but Huntelaar was, for the most part, in the Bundesliga. But Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, great goal scorer there. The next one I have is the goalie for many of these great teams was Edwin van der Sar. Fantastic goalie, a rock, a pillar back there at the back end of some of those fantastic Dutch teams, and it's sad that those Dutch teams never claimed really a major trophy because they were so deserving, and the amount of talent that was out there was off the charts. But Van der Sar was, a big reason why they were so good, is because you can do all you want correct in front, but if you don't have that pillar and that rock at the back, it doesn't mean anything. And Van der Sar was excellent. Number 3 is Arjen Robben. Arjen Robben, I think I said this before, at least to you guys, reminded me so much of watching the great 8 Alexander Ovechkin out there on a soccer field. Because Robin was left-footed, and the same way with Ovechkin being right-handed, he would, for the most part, in much of his career, would do the same move, and you couldn't stop it. Robin would start on the right, at one point cross back over to his left, cutting across the middle of the pitch, and he'd fire one with his left foot past the goalie, and you couldn't stop it. The same way Ovechkin would come down and cut across towards his right on the ice, and it didn't matter. You could play the same defense. You could be in front of him. You couldn't stop it. And Robin just reminded me so much of that, and he did it on such a high level and was so consistent goal-scoring-wise. It didn't matter when he got old, even with his, maybe he lost a step here or there. It didn't matter because you still couldn't stop it. His release and his, technique was so good that it didn't matter.
Fast, too.
Yes, he was fast. He was also follically challenged, which was a big bonus for me. as I am
Fair.
much a sympathizer for those who are follically challenged, as I am. My second is Virgil van Dijk,
Nice.
because I love a big physical bruising defenseman, and I would say he's the best central defender in the world. I know. I
Yes.
think maybe they might say Antonio Rudiger might be up there, but I would take Van Dijk in a heartbeat over really anyone else. And I would argue he might be the biggest reason why you see the Dutch success, because he's kind of that bridge between the two generations. And I think he's like the highest paid defensive player in the world or something like that. And it's very well deserving. I'm a big fan of Virgil van Dijk. Put him on my team any day. I will take that guy in the back end who will stop anyone and doesn't care. And he's also, what I like too, is he's also a threat on set pieces in the air. And I like it because that's when he's a threat. He doesn't seek out opportunities. He's not selfish where he's like, oh, I can make a run here, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, he knows his role and he's going to stick to it because he knows I am better than everyone else. If I veer from what I do, it's going to hurt our team, even if I can do it, because he's very capable of it. Even if I can do it, it's not the right thing. I'm going to take my opportunities through the air on set pieces. I'm going to get back and I'm going to hold that anchor down defensively. So Virgil van Dijk, my number 2. And my number 1 is Wesley Sneijder. I want to say he was a midfielder, right? Attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
For those great Dutch teams. But he had one of the best power shots really ever, but at least of his time. He was a threat to score once the ball touched his foot. Because he had such accuracy and distance on his shots. Kamal, I'm sure you remember, we saw him in Baltimore when Inter Milan played Manchester City in a friendly over the summer, and he was like the one I wanted to see. That was cool. We saw some big name people out there on the pitch, but Wesley Sneijder, Inter Milan, and I don't know who else he played for over his career, notably, but that's who I remember him with, is at Inter, and he was awesome. I love the idea that you had this weapon that, he could change a game at an instant, on a dime, doing something that no one else really could do at that distance and that power and that accuracy. You can really only see that stuff in the video game. So Wesley Sneijder was my number 1. I'll hang up and listen.
That's a great list.
It's okay.
This, like you said, this was a very, very hard list for me because the way the Dutch teach football and play football is so special, and it's so unlike anyone else that you see, and their philosophy around the game, it really has always hit home for me. Our travel team growing up had a trainer who embraced total football, and that's what was taught to me when I was coming up through the travel leagues. So to get started, my honorable mention, I have 2 honorable mentions. My first one is goalie Tim Krul. He was an absolute boss keeper. He was introduced into the limelight in the Costa Rica game in the World Cup of 2014 in Rio. He came on as a substitute, a goalie substitution in extra time. He came on for Jasper Cillessen, who was just an absolute dog. The game was tied 0-0, and no one could believe that Louis van Gaal, the manager for the Dutch, was making a goalie substitution in extra time. What are you doing? What's going on here? This makes no sense. The wheels are coming off the bus. We're screwed. And Tim Krul came on because he was a solid penalty specialist. He went on to save 2 penalties, catapulting the Dutch to the win over Costa Rica, advancing them to the quarterfinals, I believe, by saving 2 penalties. So that was really cool to see. Second honorable mention, Nick, you brought him up, Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. Again, another guy who, when it comes to international play, played second fiddle, because for the majority of his career, he sat behind Ruud van Nistelrooy and Robin van Persie, and really wasn't brought into prominence on the international stage and didn't become a household name or a household hero until, again, the 2014 World Cup, when he came on versus Mexico and buried an extra time penalty kick that Arjen Robben had drawn. And he had the famous celebration where he runs to the corner and flying karate kick the corner flag. It was awesome. Yeah, I remember I watched that game while I was working at the bar at Creighton Farms. bought a Huntelaar jersey that day. It was incredible. And for a guy who had, I mean, he, like I said, he rode the bench for most of his international career, but in 76 appearances, he had 42 goals. Some managers even called him probably one of the most prolific goal scorers the Dutch ever had because of his size, his versatility, and the power when he would strike the ball. So those are my honorable mentions: Tim Krul, Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. Number 5, Johan Cruyff, or as a lot of people would probably refer to him as the Dutch Maradona. He invented a move that is still taught, coached, and utilized at every level of play, especially for your speedy wingers like the Dutch always have. The Cruyff, excellent player, great embodiment of total football, like you said, Nick. Number 4, Ruud Gullit. He was really the pioneer of total football. Total football was conceived in the 70s, but really Ruud Gullit was kind of the front man who embodied it in the 80s and 90s and really made it kind of like a household thing and made it a popular thing to do and know. Obviously, it got a shout out in Ted Lasso, like I said earlier. So Ruud Gullit, number 4. Number 3, one of my most favorite electric players to ever see wear the orange and blue, Robin van Persie. This guy's an absolute dog. I think a lot of people would remember his header against Spain in the World Cup where the ball gets played over the top and Van Persie's tracking it down the field. And instead of trying to bring the ball down, settle it, and get a quality strike off, this dude just out of the air just flicks it towards the net over the goalie. Oh my gosh, it was so great. I think they ended up winning that game. I think they put up 7 goals in that game or something like that against Spain. It was huge. It was wonderful. So Robin van Persie at number 3. Number 2, Nick, you brought him up, Wesley Sneijder. He was a dominant force at center mid. He was really the grass general, the floor general of that squad. You always had a feel that no matter how one-sided or lopsided a game felt, if Wesley Sneijder was on the pitch, you had a very real chance of seeing just a genuinely surprising goal. We saw it in a lot of our tournaments that we would have in Mike Howard's basement. I always played as the Dutch. I always had some great goals with Wesley Sneijder, but they were based on reality, right? I mean, the guy was just a walking highlight reel. And number 1, this guy will always have a special place in my heart. A lot of these young pups would probably recognize him and recognize the name of somebody who sits on the desk now, but he had a prolific career for the Dutch, a wonderful, wonderful career playing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United, and then went on to win with Real Madrid as Ruud van Nistelrooy. The guy was electric and automatic from the penalty dot. Anywhere inside of that 18-yard box, he could bury that ball. One of my all-time favorite players. I remember me and some of my old soccer mates, we used to watch highlights of his, montages on YouTube used to be the thing a lot of soccer players would do. And we would just sit there and watch Ruud van Nistelrooy highlights because they were so crazy to watch and just so amazing. He made it look so effortless and so seamless. I think I have 3 of his jerseys hanging up in my closet. They don't fit me anymore. I'm not the man I once was. But he'll always have a special place in my heart, and he's always a player that I'll always remember watching and cheering for. So that's my list. I had a lot of fun with it. I feel bad leaving a lot of names like your Van der Sars out of it, like your Arjen Robbins, Ryan Babels, Dirk Kuyt. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Ooh, Dirk Kuyt. That's a good name.
I'm
a sucker
awesome.
for a defender.
Mm-hmm. And that dude was so offensive minded too. But yeah, it was a fun list. This was a good one. Very, very special for me. Thank you.
I love it. Boy, did we inspire any more baseball players? You're gonna throw Sidney Ponson out there, maybe some Kenley Jansen.
No, I was gonna say be glad I actually was kind of in the ballpark because I was very close to just putting anyone that had a Van in their name.
Good.
Van Halen, Nick Van Exel, Fred Van Vliet.
Nick Van Exel. God, maybe we need to, clarify. We'll write all of the directions out for you next time, so that you know. Anything to add for the good of the cause before we wrap this sucker up.
Just thank you to everybody that's listening and talking about us and giving us the most precious thing in the world, and that's your time. Thank you.
Yep. I love it, boy.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, follow that up, jackass.
That's the most appropriate way to end this show. So, as always, remember to follow us on our socials on X and Instagram at WCME_sports. We're also on Facebook. Our episodes drop every Wednesday at noon on YouTube and Spotify. You can come access any of those at any time on our website at WCMEsports.com. For the boy, Stephen Vesci, for the man, Stephen Comlo, I am the coach, Nick Vesci. Remember to be decent to each other. Have a good one. We will see you next time. Take care, Guatemala.